Welcome back. I don't play a lot of Blitz games, but recently I did, and I had two that were polar opposites. One, I got a huge advantage, but lost on time. I would have won had I seen a mating sequence about midway through, which I'm about to show you here. The other one was the opposite. I lost an advantage pretty early. My opponent missed a mating sequence and had the advantage the rest of the game, but I won on time. So let's take a look as quickly as we can. In this game, I have just taken a pawn here, and I've created a passed pawn, which is currently protected by my bishop. I think the black definitely needs to do something about that, perhaps trying to get in front of it. Not sure exactly what their best move would have been. Stockfish is saying here, I already have a huge advantage, as you can see from the engine. They can maybe get in front of this pawn. Regardless, what they did was saw that my bishop was hanging, and they moved there. Watch Stockfish immediately found a mate. Now, I can't find a mate in 10 or 9. It just changed to 9, like Stockfish can. But I ought to be able to see that these are on the same diagonal and that I can put my bishop here. If you've been following along, you know that one of my weaknesses is seeing some of the diagonals of the bishops and the queens, especially if they appear to be moving away in an opposite direction from the diagonal I need to be looking at. I need to be looking at this diagonal and the fact that I can get my bishop onto it. Well, I missed that. What I was looking at was this diagonal and seeing that I wanted my bishop to maintain control of that passed pawn while not being captured. So I missed the mating sequence and I pulled the bishop back to safety here. Not horrible, but as you can see, I still have an advantage, and as I've already told you, I maintained the advantage the rest of the game. But right here is where I could have won it, had I just moved there. Because you can see, mate in 8. I wouldn't have even needed to know that there was a mating sequence here. I just need to know that this rook is gone. It says h5 is their best move, but I assume they probably would have brought the king to defend the rook. And it says I wouldn't have even taken it. That's crazy. I probably would have. And it's okay, I still would have had a mating sequence had I taken it. But it says my best move is to actually move the pawn. And if I did, the king would come toward it. And then I would take the rook. Yeah, I think I would take the rook first. And then the king would take. And what I would need to do here is see this. Now, I might have seen this because I've been working on endgame tactics. I might have seen that from here my rook would keep the king from getting to this pawn, and they couldn't have stopped it. But what I missed was backing up again. What I missed was the diagonal because it's an opposite angle diagonal from the one that I'm watching. I'm watching this diagonal. But anyway, I missed that. We danced around a lot, attacking, checking. I made some of my best moves once we got to these positions, but it was going to be really difficult, and if the clock was showing up, you'd see I have 28 seconds left. So I'm not going to make the best move every time. I'm surviving, I'm maintaining the advantage, I'm making sure that no matter how hard this king tries, it's not going to sneak up on the rook. No matter how hard this rook tries, it's not going to sneak up on my bishop. I always have safe places to put them. And right here again, oh, that would have been nice if it was my turn, but it wasn't, and the king came toward my rook. But anyway, I maintained the advantage through the end, and somehow we ended up playing 83 moves. I don't know how in the heck I played 83 moves in a 3-minute blitz game, but I did, and lost on time. But right here, move 30, where I have nearly a minute left, probably could have ended it. Let's take a look at the other game. Now, in this blitz game, which immediately followed the one I just showed you, here on move 10, we're at equality, which is probably not best for white. White should probably still have a little bit of an advantage here, especially if they've been studying chess as hard as I have. But here, in hindsight, it's obvious what I should have done. I should have moved this pawn. Because once I do, the queen will be guarding the knight, as is the pawn from the other side. And this pawn move will guard this pawn. If I would just play e3, it guards my d pawn, which is currently in danger. It's not in danger immediately because, yes, my knight and queen are both guarding the d-pawn, but this is about to get taken, probably, and then I won't have a defender on the d-pawn anymore. So, yes, I should play e3 here in hindsight. If he does take me, I can take with the queen, or I can take with this pawn, which will be defended by my queen through here because the e-pawn has moved up. Also, it would have freed the bishop to play e3. So, it says e3. After I see that, I think it's more obvious. What I played instead was a huge blunder. Knight to h4. The only thing that I can think of in hindsight as what I must have been thinking during the game is that I'm putting an extra defender on here and avoiding the trade. Also, I might have been thinking of possibly playing f3 to kick the bishop out. But my knight move did what the bishop sacrifice or the bishop-knight trade was about to do, which is remove the defender of the d-pawn. And so they took it. All right. Now here, my best move by far, it says, is rook to c1. Well, not by far. Another pretty okay move is to put the knight back where it was. Well, I wasn't going to do that. I went ahead with my plan of kicking the bishop out by playing f3, which turns out to be a mistake again because of this. Yes. And a lot of times I would have resigned right here because the only way to stop that is to take it and lose my queen. If I don't take it, move out of check, I lose this exchange, and I've already got this happening. So if I move my king out of check and they take this rook, then my queen's undefended. It was a bad situation, and I made it worse by playing the worst move. What I should have done, I only have two legal moves. One is to move the king, and one is to take the knight. Because I can't move the king this way, and I can't make some other move like this because I'm in check. So of those two choices, this one would have put me in a pretty bad situation. But this other one, the one that I played, gives my opponent mate in 3, as you can see. I thought maybe they would go ahead and take this, and then I would take their queen. Or I don't know what I was thinking. But that's what I played, and now what they have to do is play queen to c5 mate. I mean, it's not mate immediately, but when they play queen to c5, what am I going to do? I can block with the pawn, in which case that's checkmate. Or I can block with the queen, which they will take, and then I have to block with the pawn, and then that's checkmate. So when I moved my king there, they had a couple of choices. Now their second best choice, it says, would have been to play queen to b3 to protect their knight. I guess. Nope, now it's saying go ahead and take the rook is their second best move. It can't make up its mind. But what they played instead was queen to d4 check, which isn't good at all because I can just take it, which I did. And now white has an advantage. I didn't know it during the game because we've done a queen trade and I still feel kind of trapped here. I took the bishop. We played on. I got my rook out of there. I have an advantage here, but I slowly lost it. And let's see, where did I lose my advantage? Have I lost it yet? I've lost some of it and lost some more of it. Gained some of it back. We played on, but I won on time. Because here where we each have about a minute and a half left, and this one only went to 52 moves, but my opponent began to slow down. I'm a piece ahead, and as they began to slow down, and I began to speed up, I made some mistakes, including one you're about to see right here, where well, you can see the eval bars jumping, but watch this right here. No, isn't that right there? It's right here. I just hung my bishop. Look at that. I'm guarding my bishop. I unguarded my bishop by moving there, and they took it. So now black has a huge advantage, but I'm 10 seconds ahead on time, and as the next 15 or so moves played out, I ended up winning this one. But as you could see from back where we were here, my opponent had a mate in 3, I don't know if someone at our levels expected to see that. I think if I were playing black, I might have been tempted to just go ahead and take this, knowing that my queen is defended right here. I might have missed, in other words, I might have missed the mate n3 as well, were I playing with the black pieces here. But it's forced. Nothing I can do except block with one of these. And either way, queen ends up mating me right there. Protected by the knight. So yeah, going back, what I should have done was not play king to f2. I should have taken the knight, lost here, and probably resigned. But as it turned out, I ended up winning this game because my opponent did not see the mate n3. So we're going to keep on keeping on. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.